I will declare the meeting open. And Joanne, did you want to do the share with the agenda, or we can just start with this? All right, then let me let me close my share and you can take over. There we go.
Or allow multiple presenters, sure.
Yeah, and I'll start off with, of course, welcome to everybody to the first AGM of Scots of Canada, as we are now known.
I think I have the agenda up.
Yes, it is seen. So I guess first thing is to ask for approval of the agenda, and then we can think so. You can either, thank you, Denise. You're going to approve it. Thank you. Motion to approve by Denise, seconder. Thank you, Stephen. Any discussion with regards to the agenda? And then I will call a question. And unless we're actually doing formal recording and using polls for something, we'll go to our easy format of asking if there's any opposed, any nays, and just put your hand up to indicate nay. And if unless there's a indication that there could be a close vote or we need to record something, then we'll take that as sufficient evidence that the motion would be passed. Any opposed to accepting the agenda as presented? In which case I declare the motion to have been to accept the agenda as provided to be passed. Excellent. Next on the agenda is previous minutes of the 24th of November, 2024. Which, for those that attended, it was an interesting meeting. But we've gotten over that adventure.
It was an adventure.
Yes.
Motion.
Well, a learning exercise. Robert, go ahead.
Just motion to approve.
Thank you. Robert moved to approve. Kirsten is seconder. Any discussion on the minutes for the AGM on the 2024? I will just mention that the board had a consternation about some of the things that happened, and we learned things about Robert rules, principally that Robert's rules can really be garbage at times. And we didn't foresee, we didn't know about the warnings about things, about doing things like motions to set things aside, et cetera, et cetera. So in summary, what we found out with Robert's rules was that Robert's rules was meant for a more adversarial and contentious environment, which is why we are using the Canadian version of it, which is a little bit more conciliatory and less open to difficult times. And that's all I'm going to say about our last meeting and the minutes that are in there. I think they fairly accurately reflect what has happened. Right. So, does anybody else have anything to say with regards to them? in which case I will call a question. Any opposed to accepting the previous minutes of the 24th of November, 2024? In which case, I declare the minutes to have been accepted. And I don't think there's any business arising. Any business that was actually arising was taken care of at the spring meeting with our final process of it, proceeding with the change in bylaws and so forth. All right, on to the next. And I believe the plan was for me to share for that. Would you like to stop sharing, Joanne?
I thought I did.
Yeah. Oh, what am I seeing here? Oh, I'm seeing my PDF up. All right, then let me find my share button. There it is. Let's do this. I think I'm sharing the wrong thing. Share. And we want to have the application window share. And I'll just check at this point, is everybody seeing the financial statements, the statement of financial activities?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
One of the things I think is important is we did make a change with regards to how we're recognizing income. We're moving income to be in the actual year that the income is for. We've transitioned through recognizing income when it was showing up, which meant that we had fiscal years where at the end of the year, we got a bunch of membership that came in. And in essence, that was money that wasn't going to end up being spent or contribute to the expenses of that year. So what we've done now is had the invoicing occur right at the end of the fiscal 2025 and date it for fiscal 2026. Anybody that ends up paying, which we do have a few that do, paying their membership in advance or double paying their membership, we just put that in a liability until the next fiscal year, and then we book that as revenue for that. So that's a little bit of a change that has occurred, which is why you'll see interesting things like August 31st, the fiscal year for fiscal year 2024 and 2023, very large revenue figures. And that's because that's actually that 5,443, for instance, that's actually revenue that should have been in the fiscal 2025 year. All right. Now, when we show the fiscal year 2026, we will actually see that there'll be $5,000 in change for all the members that have maintained their active status. So that's a significant change. It doesn't mean that we had a lot less members. It means the revenue got moved to the next fiscal year. Okay.
So are you showing that as an account receivable?
No, because instead of sending out membership renewals and saying the renewals are paid for that year, we waited until the beginning of 2026, the fiscal year 2026, to book the revenue to actually send the invoices out. So people didn't have to pay for their membership, their annual membership, until September 1st, 2026. All right. So that's just, that kind of sticks out as a big thing. And we know what was going on in 2022. We weren't collecting membership. Only new members who joined were paying fees. 2023 2021, 2022, we did not collect membership fees because of COVID, because of the level of fiscal status of most of our members. All right. I'm going to leave it open at this point for anybody, any questions or further explanations that they'd like with regards to the financials. In which case, I'll just say, go ahead, Bart.
Yeah, I had a question about the legal and filing fees. Is that just a one-time expense?
Yeah, well, it's actually was a 1.5 times expense. Because we spent we spent a few $1,000s, a significant portion in terms of money that we shouldn't have had to spend to get ready for what we wanted to do in terms of the bylaw changes for last November. And that all got thrown into the garbage. So we ended up having to spend, we ended up revamping and taking a different approach, and basically paying about another $3,500 in legal fees for what we ended up doing for the bylaw work in April, and that was it. From what I understand, we actually did not pay a lot for the kind of work that we got done with the charity-oriented organization, legal organization that we were dealing with. But we should be back to, unless anybody sues us or does anything horrid, or we decide that we want to become, go and change bylaws again or stuff like that, we should be back spending just filing fees, which is the $12 or, something like that. Right. Joanne, what are the filing fees? That's just
Yes,
what we pay the government to say, here's our directors now. And
yep. After an AGM, I have to file a report with Corporations Canada or Industry Canada. They keep changing the name, and it's $12.
Yeah. So that's an expense. That $5,000 is one time. And
I have a question, Bill.
yes.
Is the board indemnified for liability currently under a policy?
Yes, we have. That's what the insurance liability is.
Right, okay.
That's the $307. There is a story with regards to that, because what we were doing initially, that was an arrangement with BMS Canada for insurance. That was a good deal, but you could only get that deal if you were a member of Volunteer Canada. And what we were finding was Volunteer Canada wasn't providing anything else to us. And they seem to have only talked to us to send us an invoice, which is not something many of us like. You're only we only hear from you when you want our money. So when it came time to renewal and we looked at our current finances, we said, you know what? We've already bought the insurance from BMS. That happens in the spring. We don't need to be a member of Volunteer Canada, which is a renewal that comes up in September, and until then. So I've told Volunteer Canada we're currently not rejoining, and we will review it in the context of what the fee that Volunteer Canada gives us, that provides no value as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
And add that fee to our liability insurance. I think what we need to do is in the spring, when it comes time for our liability insurance to be renewed, to shop around and say, for $540, can we get the insurance that we need, as opposed to $320 and then $220, right, for Volunteer Canada, right?
Thanks. And I have one other question.
Sure.
I apologize. This is the first time I've seen a financial statement, so I'm just so I hope I don't take up too much time. On the surplus deficit at the bottom,
Yep.
it's a major change from obviously 22 to 24 and then 25. What does that maybe you could just give me a quick
Well, I would say it's a little bit of a perfect storm, not a perfect storm, because having a deficit like that. Um, so one of the first things that impacted is if you go up to the very top and say membership fees, that's $4,000 difference. And that really is an accounting number to say, hey, we're not going to misrepresent where money is coming in. Money should be booked in where the expenses are being incurred. So we did that. We said, okay, membership fees. The only thing that we earned, excuse me, that's the son calling. I'm passing the phone over to my wife, Sylvie. You want to take the call from Andrew?
Yeah.
Been there.
And like I looked at it and I went, geez, can I make that 16,000 not look so bad? Well, no, let's be straightforward with regards to stuff. And we changed other stuff too, that we're trying to say, okay, how about we do something as far as our conference expense, our expenses for games, and just do it at the end of the festival season. And that was a way to start trying to say, well, let's level it out. But in reality, the money is the money that was spent. So $4,000 higher because the deficit was $4,000 higher because the way we moved the revenue into the proper fiscal year. The deficit was higher because of the $5,000 of legal fees. So there's $9,000 where we would be back down around $7,000. And then we spent money on things like advertising and promotion. We were running, in order to try to get the household membership stuff going. We were running ads in Celtic Life and trying to broaden our thing. In retrospect, do we think it was good value? Well, no, it's not something that we're really continuing at this point. So we'll look at other values. So we know we had a lot of promotion and expenses that we did put things through. If we recognize that the revenue change was going to be in effect and the expense for the legal fees, it was going to come up like that, then we probably would have, pulled our horns back in a little bit.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I what seems like you've reworked the line items and it's a more transparent data. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I thank Kirsten Hunter for saying, no, let's not do what we were going to do in terms of deferring some of our roadshow expenses to the end of the festival season, which, that's one of the things I was thinking of doing, and saying, well, let's book all those things at the end, which means it gets pushed into the next year. Because unfortunately, our fiscal year ends in the middle of our spend, right? We're a little bit different because of something that's happened historically from most organizations who like to have fiscal year ends end at calendar year ends. But I think many years ago, we kind of got caught behind and we changed to our fiscal year end being August 31st. That was my interpretation. But Joanne, maybe you can correct me on that.
I think they changed it so that it ended in August, so that the treasurer could get all his reports done in September. We approved them at a board meeting the end of September, so they could be sent out ahead of the AGM. So we had to have the reports done in the time period before the beginning of November legally to send them out. So that's why we backed it up instead of a calendar year.
Yeah, so that it was done by the end of the calendar year as opposed to after the calendar year.
Right? Well, to get approved at the AGM, which is the end of November.
Yeah.
So they had to be done and then come to the board first to approve them before they could be sent out to the membership with notice of meeting.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Paul, your hand is up.
Yeah, Bill, do you have a budget for 26?
Yeah, we're not going to spend as much.
Yeah,
but definitely, yeah, one of the things we're going to do is look and say, hey, there's some areas where now we recognize we can do some pretty neat things. We're finding that shipping banners off to events and having them present them on their own as self-serve is working. Using the prepaid boxes which is how we ship the thing off the Sydney mines, that's working. So, cutting down our expenses with regards to things like roadshow and stuff like that, and using alternative ways of marketing that are going to be less expensive. I think there's a lot more that we could leverage in terms of social media and that for what we're trying to achieve with, for instance, the household membership. So, but I'll be truthful. Let's just continue doing what we're doing in terms of full bore and covering travel expenses and so forth for that for the roadshow. Yeah, we're not going to continue doing that. We have to find more effective ways of doing it. We won't cut down on the number of banners that we print. That ends up being very effective and ends up not being that expensive. I know that was, something that we had been, somebody had mentioned, oh, we don't want you printing 2 million banners. It's like, what? No, we print 5 sets of banners that provide incredible tracking and provide service to all of our members with regards to things. Go ahead, Kirsten. You're muted.
You're on mute.
I think if we get a finance committee, we're talking about getting a finance committee together, and then they will look at the budget and have everybody from each district, Western Canada, Central or Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritimes in the States, to see how much money they think they're going to spend for the year. And we will incorporate that into a budget of, and have it approved by the board too. At least that's, I think, what we kind of discussed at one point.
Yep.
Thank you. And Della has her hand up.
Go ahead, Della.
Just to go on with what John was saying, you have to actually you should be recording the revenue when the expenses, those are our standard accounting rules. You can't, unless you're going to fudge numbers, you can't get away from sitting there and not recording the actuals when they take place and in the quarter that they take place in. So the fact that you've kind of corrected that this year will be better going forward. And if this was ever audited, that would have been a red flag in prior years.
Yep. So there you go. We're fixing it.
Okay.
Any other questions with regards to the statement of financial activities?
Thank you.
Paul, your hand is still up.
No, I put it up again. So you used up the development fund this year. Where did that come from? This $20,000 development program
Well,
fund?
actually, it wasn't $20,000 to begin with. It was $35,000, and it was growing by a couple $1,000s every year. And Joanne probably can provide the archaeological forensics as to where did that money come from.
People made donations in the early days. So when we first got this thing going in 76, 75, 76, there was a possibility of buying land. People were building cultural centers. So the Irish and all the people were building their own cultural centers. So people made lots of donations, fundraising, et cetera, to build a cultural center. And we applied to the Lottery Corporation, which was supposed to match the funds. And they said, no, the Scots are one of the founding nations. You don't get matching funds. So that money was sitting in GICs all these years, earning some interest, whatever. And we've been gradually using it as we needed to keep going forward.
Okay.
Yep. we actually had, when I became chair, we actually had more money than we really ever should have. We had 20 years of operating funds in non-designated, what we were calling a development fund, but there wasn't any designation or restrictions or anything on it. And that was sticking out like a sore thumb as far as the CRA was concerned. So one of the things we did right away was we sponsored the bursary at the University of Guelph and sent them $5,000. And then when we were able to start doing the roadshow, we could see that there was different things that we could do to start consuming that and get into more of a charity nonprofit mode, which is technically what we are.
Mhm.
So when money comes in and it is designated for things, then that's something we have to start seriously keeping track of. But all of that money that was sitting there, there was nothing that said you can't do it. You have to do this with it or that with it or this with it. It was totally undesignated funds, right? My concern was that with the economic stuff that was going on with COVID, that would be something that the CRA would jump in and say, well, we can make use of that money, and they could just take it. Saying, especially because we were collecting a couple thousand, $2,500 a year in revenue and spending $600, $700. We were accumulating funds. We weren't spending anything except office expenses and web hosting, right? So we were actually piling more money in there. So, yeah, and we can see that in the statement of financial position, that the development fund has been exhausted. That is gone. So we're down into more of a true nonprofit mode. So, but one of the things that we've done to fix that, which maybe John, you want to, John, you did the report in the newsletter for it. We got the things in place for our charity status in terms of Canada Helps. So it's easy for people to donate stuff to us as a charity, which, people didn't even realize we actually are a federal not-for-profit charity and can issue charity receipts. All right. So there's our current financial, there's our financial position at the end of the year. In essence, the money that we have in the bank is offset by what is accounts payable for expenses for last year, which is outstanding roadshow expenses. To the extent that those will end up being paid, I think that's something that those of us that have incurred the expenses and the board will continue to discuss, right? But we still have net assets of about $5,000. And technically that should be enough for us. That's close to what our annual revenue is. That should be enough for us to do what, that should be our target number in terms of what we spend for our expenses, right? Our revenue so far this year has been $5,533.18 for the renewals that we have received, plus gain on exchange. So we are running at about $5,000 a year for revenue starting at this point. That's not counting what we hope to have as a significant increase in revenue from our household memberships. All right. Any questions on our statement of financial position? And what derives from that is the continuity of funds, which is in essence saying that we took that $20,000, moved it into operating funds, and our total funds, which is really in operating funds that we have available is $4,996. Okay.
We need a motion for this.
Yep, looking for a motion to approve the financial statements. Thank you, Stephen. Seconder? Ian, thank you. Ian Ferguson, seconded. All right. What's our next?
Call the question.
Well, there's no further discussion. Let's call the question. All those in favor of the motion?
No, anybody against?
No, well, no. As you can tell, wait a minute, my blood sugar is getting low. All right. Any opposed to accepting the financial statements as presented? In which case, I'll say the motion has been carried. Thank you, Joanne.
It's just easier.
Yeah.
And then if you want to share all the committee reports as well.
Oh boy, oh boy. I guess we could talk about the website to start off with, which is whose days are numbered in its current format. So there is a Scots of Canada website that is being built, and that will replace the existing Scots Canada one. I would say all the functionality plus will be in the Scots of Canada site, and that's being custom built. That's ongoing, but I think we've got a pretty successful web presence at this point. Our homepage had 45,000 visits during the course of the fiscal year. The most popular thing, of course, is the events. People visiting the events page, right? And not surprisingly, there's significant traffic on the clan lookup, name lookup, which right now is static based. The plan for the new site is to have that as two ways of entering a database that connects clan names to names that people are looking for. And we're hoping to do some things like, is everybody familiar with the term Soundex? So the idea of Soundex is that when you hear, for instance, McKinnon, what are all the ways that you could actually spell that name, right? With one N, with two N's, with a QIN if you're pronouncing it a certain way. So the idea of the Soundex is to actually take a name, take a word, and produce a phonetic representation of it. And then when somebody goes to look for something, then it will convert that search into a phonetic and try to match the phonetic. All right. And that gets rid of, that gets past the problem that we have where, our names are Gaelic based, are Latin based, are French based, and all the different ways that those names can be pronounced is just the way the rendering of the spelling got put in place, and people deciding to add or delete letters for whatever reasons. Right. One of the things I'll tell people at the booth when it comes to the phonetic aspect is, how do you write down names like Ahmed? How do you write that down? Particularly for the people that came in as Gaelic speakers, trying to get their last name properly written into books, written into marriage licenses and stuff like that. After the Treaty of Paris, and the people in the 78th and 79th Frasers were marrying the French women they were living with because they could now. They were no longer the enemy. And you've got preachers who were trained in Spain and Italy and in France that were the Catholic priests, right? So That's one of the things that we're looking at is having a better facility inside of that. And boy, did I digress. I'm assuming everybody knows the way the tracking pages work, the way the posters work, the banners work. So that when somebody scans a QR code, it goes through a tracking code that records what people records people are looking for that. So when we get into member page access, a good portion of these will come from people either finding them using the clan or lookup or going to the home page, or by actually going and scanning the poster when they go to one of the Highland games. So when we look at somebody like Clan Farquharson, there was 2,653 visits to their page on the Scots Canada site. Right. I had this ranked in terms of high numbers, like Glengarry Highland Games, 42, 80, 84. It's very popular. Fergus wasn't as high. I was surprised. One of the ones that is surprisingly high, Sydney Mines, 3375. Even last year, for a short term that they were a member, they had a very high visit. So this is one of the ways that we're providing services to our members, is by providing these pages and a way for people to find them. All right. So look at McDougall. I find that interesting. 4784. And this is the actual software that is used for the site, counting the number of times people go to that page. All right. Any questions about the page access on the website?
I like how many McKinnons hit. That was good.
Yeah. Well, of interest, John, was last night I'd asked at the Embro St. Andrew's dinner, I was asking about what are the names that are around there, and McKinnon was one of them. Because of course, what we find is there's tends to be clustering of clan names, because a whole bunch of people would have migrate together, or they have great success in area. McKinnon was one of the names. Matheson, McKinnon, and McKay or Mackay, depending on. And I heard them pronounce it both ways down there. Was in the Embro Azora area. But yeah. What I don't have, and it would be really interesting, is we don't count the number of ways that people look for clans that aren't there, that aren't members, right? Which is too bad, because all we can do is we put up a sign that says names often looked for but not members, like McLean. McLean, is often being looked for, but we don't have a counter for that. Right. Go ahead. John, are you clapping or are you trying to get attention?
Trying to get attention.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out to members that basically what this is showing is the amount of times that we're getting either somebody looking for information on the clan or the event to the actual website of that event or clan. So after that, now that they're at your homepage, it's up to you to try and capture their interest or bring them on as a member or whatever. So we're basically getting them to the door. It's up to you to bring them inside.
Yeah. Yeah, I work with the philosophy of get them to the door, get them to ring the bell, get them to step inside, get them to stay. Right. And part of the secret, though, is just to give them just enough to want more. And but this is getting them to the door and ringing the bell, right? We don't count the clicks when they do get there. That's really hard for us to do. MailChimp counts clicks in the newsletters and that we send out, but we can't count the number of times that they actually go and they click a link, right? But you should be able to see that, and I'm sure that people that have joined, they've seen more traffic showing up because of this, because we're actually providing a funnel, a way for people to get to them. Right. So I advise everybody, have a look at your page and make sure that the links that we've got are right and the information that we've got are right. And if you want more added to it, then let us know. We can put more stuff on the page. There's some cases where, for some of the members, where we've provided the little back end story about what's going on with them. Most of them, when I set the page up, I put what the tartans were, what the logo crest is, what the and the motto, and so on and so forth, and the different SEPs or names that they are associated with. But in some cases, we got very good information about the back end history of the clan or family or organization, and we've added that to it. So please go check your page, and if you want more or want some changes to it, this is getting them to step inside the door. You want to entice them to click on the link about membership, to contact you, to go to your own website. All right. Anything else? All right. So one of the things we do is we send out Scots of Canada updates. I never get to seem to do it as often as I would like. And this is just the kind of thing that we've been finding, is that we send out, this is the numbers, it's pretty steady. We only send out notices of meetings, etc., to delegates and associate alternate delegates. So that's why you'll see we'll go from 400 and change down to 176 or 195, right? And open rate is pretty consistent. Where most of the time we're 40 to 50 to 60%. That's being told by MailChimp, that's pretty good for sending mail out. But we do get, you can see we do get people clicking through. This counts the number of times that people will actually click a link to go to something like actually to look at the newsletter. I'm assuming that there's some that just know, oh, now I know the newsletter is available on the website, because you can just get access to the website, to the newsletters on the website as it stands right now. One of the things being considered for the new website is to start to put more stuff behind a wall in terms of whether you're a member or not, as far as, you know, how soon can you see the newsletter, right? It's not easy to implement as it currently stands, mostly because it's not easy to manage membership with the current system. But with the new website, it'll be a lot easier, a lot more self-serve with regards in that regard. So we'll move stuff so that perhaps you can see newsletters that have been out for that are a year old or more older, but not just the fresh stuff that it's reserved for active members. Okay.
Della has her hand up.
Go ahead, Della.
I was just going to say, I know that when you send out the newsletters, Bill, the actual newsletter is in the email that gets sent out. So it's not the case that it's just an email to say it's the newsletter is out and we've got to go to the website to look at it. It is right there in our inbox.
Yeah, well, you can just click it and get to it. Yeah.
Yeah, open it from that.
Yeah. Well, this is actually asking, this actually shows what email gets opened. Right now, the other thing is, if you have privacy settings in terms of your email clients in your browser, MailChimp, which is what we're using right now, can't tell whether you open the email or not. This is what is known about you opening it. So there's stuff like there's stuff where I have some privacy settings for some of the mail that comes through, where I say it's none of their business whether I read the mail or not. So I don't allow that to get reported. Well, that would be the case with this here. When we say there's 60% open, for instance, about the AGM reminder, there could have been a lot more that opened it. And when you see numbers like got sent to 392 people and there's 543 opens, well, that means somebody clicked on it many times, right? But there could be a whole bunch of people that clicked on it that we don't get that information because it doesn't get reported back to MailChimp, right? This just gives them an indication, right? If we were finding that our percentage dropped, then, like something like this, well, you kind of go, what happened there? I guess they didn't like blossoms and bagpipes. Who knows? Yes, John.
That's a great database you got going. I just have a quick question on committees in general. How many serve on the committee, for example, on the website committee?
I would say that's John and Robert.
Okay.
We haven't been really good with regards to committees.
Okay.
Right. That's something that is in the implementation phase. Right.
Good enough.
And
thanks.
And that I've been whining about, as the board knows.
Thank you.
So that's the email that goes out with the Scots of Canada updates, which includes telling people about the newsletters and also just whatever updates. Originally, we used to just send out something every quarter to let people know the newsletter was done. And what I was realizing was that there was just so much that went under the bridge. Let's start sending out an update. So at least try to do something once a month or every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks would be ideal, but at least once a month so that we get some information out to people about what's happening with it. Ideally, I think we should be sending out a Scots of Canada update at least every 2 weeks. Right. And because that is what maintains a good sense of community for everybody. All right. For actual newsletters, these are the newsletters that were put out. As you can see, there's a huge difference in size of pages with the one that was done in the fall, because that was our festival season, end of festival season special, and we added a lot of images and that for festivals that were going on. But we do find that we do get a good amount of accesses and that to it. Again, that's just what we can have counting done for, and it's not necessarily what all of the access is for it. All right. We can't actually tell if somebody has taken the PDF and sent it off to other people and how many have actually opened it. Though that is what we encourage, is that if we send this to you as a member, then you should be sending it or the link of it to your membership, right? Because we want tens of thousands of people to be reading about our membership. All right. Any questions with regards to the newsletters? John, I'm glad you brought the committee thing up, because that's one of the things is I'm basically just making decisions myself with regards to it. But my gut says we need more in terms of input, and we probably need more in terms of newsletters or or perhaps a different format or different style. Is 4 enough? It's hard. I don't think so. Should it be 5? Should there be a different format? There different ways? And that is something I think we need to have input from other people for.
Well, I appreciate the updates, and I share them with our board and officers, and some of the data they are very thrilled to get. And we have, what I'm doing right now is I'm forming two. You send out too many emails, it goes to spam because people. So I'm dividing it into small groups, but I want to single out our Canadian members and then plug them in to Scots of Canada directly, so they can get this information, as well. So I want to be able to share it with them as well easily.
Excellent.
No, I think those updates are great. I every time I think, I don't know if I get them from Joanne, but every time I see that, I take them and I run with it, and the McKinnons are appreciative of it. So just so you know.
Excellent. Okay, next is the events. What did we do for events? And you can see we went to a lot. This can be updated for the Azora Caledonia. We just put up the single banner. We didn't put holes in the wall so that we could put up 30 feet. We just put up the 7x10 banner on the stand. And when I see the tracking report on Monday, we'll see that people are actually clicking and looking at the going to it and clicking the QR codes. So definitely that was a successful thing. And I think, and as John, you've alluded to, I think there's other places that we can, or John Duff, where we can make use of banners and have those banners used and displayed. That's something for us to research and figure out how to do. Right. The banner was shown also, that single banner was also presented at the charity ball. Thanks to my oldest son, David, and to one of our members, which is a daughter, clan designer, Erica. And that was successful as well. So you can see we went to a lot of events. And I'm hoping everybody saw us, at least one of them. So this ties back to our roadshow expenses, right? There was cost involved in doing these things. All right. I think the biggest highlight for me is the Fergus, where we were able to, we ended up in the end being given a 20x20 booth, and we made full use of it by having all of the banners up. And that is something that I'd like to see us be able to do going forward, is have much bigger booths and presence at large games like Fergus and Glengarry. We're getting there. We're becoming a more substantial force in their mind. Go ahead, Mary.
Is this report available to us, all the events?
Well, that's you see the 124 pages for the fall 2025.
Okay.
There you go. Now,
Okay.
There's
That's
a
fine.
good portion of it has write-ups, but I think we've got pretty much pictures from everything.
Okay.
Right. And that was the whole idea, was to get stuff from people for those things. But yeah.
Also, I believe the link for the AGM included all these reports. It was online with the link.
In the fall newsletter, we did also put a tracking, put the tracking report. And that was one of the reasons to hold it up, was to provide that tracking report, which I'm going to see, where did I have that? Page 91. Oh my God. In terms of the effectiveness of these things, why don't I do that? If are people interested in having a view of the tracking report? I can show that in the publication. So in the newsletter, everybody see the newsletter? So in the newsletter, we put a tracking report. So when somebody clicks on the QR code on a poster, it goes through a URL called clanscanada.ca to a service that we pay for called ClickTrack. And that provides us, we can download a spreadsheet that tells us when a click occurred. And what we do is we go and match that with the dates that an event happened and what was the banner set that was being used. And that's why we produce different banner sets. On all those banner sets, every clan poster, organization member poster has a specific QR code for the different banner sets. So we can actually tell when an event is happening at the same time, where was that actually being clicked? So when we look at something like say, well, let's go to the next page. Clan McKinnon, we can see, Antigonish, 2 people clicked on it, clicked through. In Fergus, 3, and so on. Now, again, this is like media measurement, right? I worked for Numeris, which was the polling media measurement people. And the rule was you look and you say, you can't really tell how many people are watching a TV show because you don't have the statistics from all of them. But you can use sampling techniques to say, if I go and measure what 10,000 people are doing, I can get a sense in terms of proportions and numbers and so on. And then you can explode that into what the actual percentage is. I didn't do that here, but that's something that we can do to say, hey, if I'm Clan McRae and I see that 4 people go and click in Antigonish, well, guess what? That tells me there's McRae's there, right? Not necessarily in Canmore. Nobody clicked, but that somebody there at, or pardon me, Cambridge, but somebody's there in again, Georgetown. Was it George? No, Fergus, 4. So I can get relative numbers in terms of, and the purpose of this is to let our members know where should you be showing up because they're looking for you. Clan Shaw should be showing up in Canmore, right? I don't know, Kirsten, does Clan Shaw go to Canmore?
No, they don't.
So they should, though, because 5 people clicked on it. That's a high percentage. That's a quarter of the people, close to a quarter of the people that were looking for them at Highland Games across Canada that we present at, clicked at Canmore. So Clan Shaw should be showing up there. Shaws are there looking for them. All right. This is part of what I think you're alluding to in terms of a report, Mary. This gives you an idea of where people are interested in what you're in looking for you. All right. There's a fair amount of work, I tell you. I'm hoping I can get some AI to do this, or somebody, or a committee member to do it in the future.
The one thing I noticed with that report is there'd be clans at an event, and yet they clicked on the banner instead of coming and visiting the clan.
Well, that's and we found that is that we'll actually say to members, hey, they're actually here, and they say, well, yeah, they want to get that, but there's some people that use the QR code and take a picture of the posters and the banners because they just like the looks. There is a wow factor. I've actually had people walk by and look and say, wow, and turn and come into the booth, right? Because nobody else is doing anything like this. It is wow. So again, it shows who clicks, right? We don't have anything in place that records eyeballs on a poster, right? Wouldn't that be neat? A little camera up there, and when people come in, it goes, oh, we saw that person looking at Clan Graham, right? It added a counter to it. We don't have that. We could do facial recognition and say, well, they came back, we're not going to count them. Anyways, probably get in trouble for that, right? So, so there's our in the fall publication. There's the statistical report about those games, and that's why we did this, so that we can have that kind of thing, right? Clan McKenzie does really well, 50 clicks on banners. Clan McKay, 44. I'm just looking at it here. Again, people like Sydney Mines seem to have a lot of people interested, right? Clan Cameron, 44, right? There you go. You're doing well. So pay attention to this and look and see where should you be showing up or not, or I wouldn't say that, not showing up, but definitely look at Fergus, 10 people, 10 clicks on it, right? 4 at North Lanark. And if you're not showing up there, then you got justification to end up showing up there. Okay. Any other questions with regards to the reports? Go ahead, Kirsten. You're
It's
muted.
not really to do with reports. Ian just had to leave for another event, so that's why he's left.
Oh, okay. Not snowstorm or power failure or rodents chewing out the cables.
The next
All right.
item would be membership.
Yep. There's the summary. I think this has changed because we had somebody pay. So at the time, that was that time of report. So everybody appreciates that one of the changes that we made with the bylaws last spring was that when you join, you're a member forever. No more, oh, you have to pay to continue to be a member. You are a member forever. And of course, there's diabolical reasons for that. One, if you're a member, then we could always talk to you. We don't have to worry about you X number of years, you can't contact this person because da 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 da. You're always a member. It's important with regards to like the households, because we want a pipeline of sustainability. We want households to join and the kids to be members and the kids to grow up and go through their careers and all that kind of stuff, and then come back and be members. We want sustainability in that sense. But also it means that in order, to me, it just made sense that our mission is to support Scottish culture and heritage. And we should be able to do that even for people or organizations that can't pay the membership fee by doing something, even if they're just inactive. So no more, no more welcome back, no more the membership lapsing. So we show that in this report that we've got, 4 members have a status of inactive at the time of the report for clans and families. That's gone down to 3, correct? Or less. I'm trying to remember how many we have now that are not. Yeah. So yeah, we spent a lot of money, and you can see in the financial reports, well, it ended up meaning part of that was how we got the kind of growth that we got. That's part of what I look at this on the positive side from that perspective. Our membership has grown significantly and will continue to grow. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I am very impressed with your database and the tracking you've done. I keep thinking, we were one society. You're looking at, or one clan. You're looking at 64 clans, 9 societies. And you've got a big umbrella there. And I just wanted to say I'm really impressed with how you're tracking the data, and I hope there's got to be an army to help. I don't know how, or is it all AI, or
Well, okay, so I'm an old IT guy that came through. I was a data architecture, data engineer. When COVID hit, I was the knowledge architect
Okay.
for Numeris, and my job was to understand information, right? And I'm glad you used the term data because data is data, but information is how is somebody putting it to use. So for me, this is habitual to just know, right? My wife had a giggle because we were looking at some numbers, and I immediately blurted out what the total was. Right? Why? Because that's the way the brain works. And I had an average too, but I didn't say it because I figured that was going to be pushing. Right? But this is just instinctive for me to say we've got to have numbers. It's to me, it's the whole thing about no accounting, no control goes to everything. If you don't have a feel for what your numbers are in terms of your membership and in terms of how people are clicking at things and that, then you're just going by sense of smell, which for humans is very easy to fool, right? So I thank you.
No, and how you use the data, it's like, okay, where are the strong points and weak spots, that kind of thing. So I don't want to belabor the point here. Just wanted to say I'm impressed with your database.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Here's our details, our societies, and our enterprise. We're kind of just grouping enterprise, media, sport, and historical, so that we're not running into lots more pages. But you can see that people like, yeah. I don't know what else to say about this. These are our members. Growing.
Yeah.
This could be one of the reasons why our publication, the number of publications for newsletters is going to have to go up in terms of frequency, unless we want to start getting into 200-page newsletters, which I have had complaints about the size of newsletters. All right. Any questions about the membership report? Did I cover everything? Oh, there's festivals and games. This is one of the areas where we've gotten good growth, big growth, right? And very glad to help with regards to festivals and games, because I did not feel that there was good distribution of information for where festivals and games are in Canada. So we're providing that. We could probably do a better job, but we are providing that in terms of what our events and everything else are, and providing ways for people to click through and find them. Okay. And that's it for membership report. Go ahead, John.
I just want to point out at least one festival is also in New York State.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of Canadians that go there. And that's Niagara
Celtic. And we're open to, I mean, it's in terms of servicing, there is that one festival in Michigan. They have a Canadian Day or something like that. Have you heard of these, John? It's and they have they do maple syrup and they do all kinds of stuff. Like we ran across that traveling through.
Celine or Livonia or Alma. That's the three biggies that I'm familiar with. But there's a crossover. It's like you mentioned New York State. Our commissioner, New York State, has adopted Fergus now, and he goes to Fergus for the last 3 years and helps set up the tent there. And they host a tent at the Niagara Games as well. So it's crossing borders.
Yep.
Yeah.
In Kalamazoo.
In a good way.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm Sylvia's here mentioning it could be Kalamazoo that we're
Oh,
thinking about.
Kalamazoo, yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have a Canada Day.
Yeah. They have a Canada Day.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting little, it's a very small, venue, but they're very close, very tight knit, and that's good.
That's excellent. Kirsten?
The Hawaiian Games is the Highland dancing is actually ran by an Alberta girl, lady. So there is a crossover with the with Hawaiian Highland
Wow.
Games.
Wow. That'd be great to go to. We should get them
Yeah,
as members.
it's in April. It's in April too. It's around the first couple weeks of April.
So the weather would still be nice. That's good.
And Tartan Parade in New York is popular.
Yep. Well, that's one of the things I'm glad you mentioned the thing about the Tartan Parade, because I could put Emily on the spot to talk about the Tartan Festival thing, but I think we'll leave that for what's coming up in our next newsletter or something like that about how we plan
to put me on the spot.
Yeah, well, how we intend to take Tartan Day back to the country that it was invented in. So sorry, Bart.
That's good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Share
That's
the
okay.
celebration worldwide.
Yes.
I think we need a motion to accept all these reports.
Yeah. Do we have somebody that can provide a motion? Thank you, Chris. And Denise, I'll have you as seconder. Any opposed? In which case the motion is carried.
Which Chris was that?
Chris Hodge. Our BC rep. Ex officio. Our next motion is well, for those that aren't familiar with it, so as a not-for-profit national charity, we are required normally to have a public accountant, and this is separate and aside from finance committees or auditing committees, which don't have to be auditors or accountants or anything. This is a requirement to have a public accountant, and there's a bar that once you pass this in terms of having $100,000 in the bank, and if you're out using services to get donations for you, a whole bunch of things like that. So when you see, I don't know, it's kind of maybe a weird term. When you see industrial charities, is the term I use for them. They have to have public accountants. They cannot get past that rule. However, for little guys like us, incurring the expense of a public accountant, which can be from $3,000 to $10,000 in terms of cost. I asked my very good personal accountant firm that I provide support for, and kind of was hoping I could get a favor from them. And they said, oh no, it's going to be $10,000. What we're allowed to do is pass a unanimous motion to say, well, we don't want one. We don't want to incur that expense this year. Now it's pretty strict. It has to be unanimous. You can't abstain. If one person abstains or one person says no, then the motion's not passed. In which case I have to get on my knees and beg the charity directorate to please don't make us spend this money, which could probably be at their whim as to whether it happens or not. So that's the reason for this. This has got nothing to do with auditing. It's got nothing to do with review of financial reports. This is just saying we're not going to have a public accountant that we're going to pay a hefty amount of money to basically supervise what's going on with regards to finances. All right. That's what this is about. Everybody clear? Understand what this is about? Okay. So in that case, I'm going to ask for somebody to move this motion.
I'll propose it.
Thank you, John. John Monroe, a seconder. Thank you, Della. Anybody need any further clarification or want to discuss any aspect of it? In which case, I'll first ask if is there any opposed to the motion? Are there any abstentions to the motion? In which case, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. My heart rate can go down. And on that, we move to our slate of nominees for the directors. So here's a big change that has happened since last year with the adoption of our bylaws. We no longer elect officers. The term for officers are elected by the board, the new board that is elected, and officers, in essence, they have a one-year term, which we're working on term limits for. Yay, because that's going to be my out. The other thing, though, is the officers are at the pleasure of the board. So if somebody gets elected as a treasurer and they're doing a crappy job, the board can just fire them. No more of, oh, we got to go back to the membership kind of stuff. All right, so that's the first thing. The other thing, though, is we're implementing 3-year terms for directors and staggered terms. Now, that ties into the officer aspect. So you don't actually have all of a sudden a whole change of regime and turmoil, and not everybody gets replaced all at the same time. And that just works out. It's part and parcel of putting that kind of thing in place. The challenge that you end up having is that in order to implement that, the first election, our bylaws actually state the first election shall have the slate of candidates for directors done in 3 parts. A 1-year term, so that means you get elected, your term only runs for 1 year, and then you can stand for another 3-year term and so forth. You have somebody in 2-year terms and you have people in 3-year terms. How people were actually split up to go in each of those, there was no directives given with regards to that. So I know in some cases in research, sometimes it's just done by lottery. In some cases, it's done alphabetically. And in our case, we, in essence, did it by seniority, with people making some adjustments on their own. So on our slate, the people who are just standing for 1-year term is Joanne, myself, David Catter, and Terry Miles. For a 2-year term, which means that they don't have to stand for election next year like the 1-year term people. That's John Duff, Paul Elliott, Robert McKenzie, and Stephen Logan. And the 3-year term is Emily Redmond, Kirsten Hunter, Chloe Harris, and our new candidates for board membership, John McKinnon and Denise Legunzen. And what we've done is we've weighted the 3-year term first. If somebody somebody wants to add themselves to the slate, then what we do is we just push the incumbents down to the shorter terms, right? So the first thing to ask is there anybody who wishes to stand also as a director? There are 2 positions that we can add to the existing slate. In which case, I'll ask for a motion to accept the slate of nominees as presented. Somebody to move that. Thank you, Della. Seconder, Chris, thank you. Sorry, Sylvia, you're too slow. Any discussion on the slate of, so is everybody clear on how the staggered terms work? Okay.
Sorry, Bill, I need to know which Chris. We have two at the meeting.
I'm sorry, Chris Hodge.
Thank you.
All right, so if a director is replaced, they just serve the existing term of who they replace. If a new director comes in, going forward, it's 3-year terms. We're pretty much at the point though where our board will remain pretty balanced in terms of only 1/3 of it going through election each year, right? Which is good, and that's the intent, is provide stability and definitely I like the idea of being elected for 3 years, not having to have this annual churn and elections thing. So if there's no further discussion, then I'll ask if there's any opposed to accepting the slate of nominees as presented. In which case, congratulations to all of the directors and the incumbents, and John McKinnon and Denise Lagunzen. And we'll see you at the first board meeting in January, but I will bug you before that. Right. Joanne will need to get specific information with regards to completion of the report to send out. She'll need your phone number. She'll need to know your birth date, all of those interesting things.
Yeah, Bill, would you stop sharing? We need.
Sure.
Yeah, you can stop sharing.
Yeah. Yay.
There, and then we can see all the faces. Yes, I'll be contacting the new people. Thank you.
Excellent. Actually, now I've stopped sharing. I can better see everybody.
Yeah.
I believe that is the end of the formal business. I do have some announcements. One of the things that we were trying to do was to run a set of seminars or workshops on social media and strategic planning in that for it. We had somebody from U of T that was going to set up the course in that for it, but unfortunately she got overwhelmed and is backed out. So we're trying to figure out, we're going to have to try to put something like that together for ourselves. I don't think it's hard. It's just, again, the amount of time to do it. The other thing that I think is significant that I'm going to ask the Scots of Canada to put their shoulders behind is the Tartan Festival, which I just found out that Embro has a Tartan Day celebration on April 4th. So there's lots of organizations out there that are celebrating, but we just don't have coordination of it. So I'm wondering if we can do something along the same lines as the kilt skate, in terms of at least providing a clearinghouse and provide resources and ideas and so forth for tartan events. And definitely we'll look to see if there's something we can do in terms of orienting our spring meeting that helps enable that. And other than that, I think that's all I have to say.
Bill, could you tell me the names of the two new directors?
Yes, it's John McKinnon and Denise Lagunzen. And that is in the slate of candidates that is on the page on the website. So I'll leave that page up there for quite some time until we don't think it needs to be. In fact, maybe we can put the thing up, right? Okay, right, Della?
Yes. Actually, what I was going to is a bunch of us clans are kind of working together, trying to see if we can find a way to help support each other and all that. Something that Nathan from Clan McTavish has I guess he's been talking to you and Sylvie and Terry and whatnot, and kind of took the bulls by the horn, so to speak, at Fergus. So right now we're looking at trying to do a Christmas event where we get together and whatnot. So
So it's conveners that are getting together.
Yeah, that's gonna be the fun
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, Kirsten, go ahead.
Yeah, we're looking at doing something along the same line in Alberta. Chris Bone and myself and Clan Buchanan, we're all trying to work on something like that to get all the clans in Alberta to gel, and we do on second day of the games, we always have a breakfast with all the clans. So that was what we started right now.
Well, certainly don't hesitate to ask for help in terms of web resources or IT resources and places where stuff can be shared. As you can see, it's not hard to get something like what we've got in place for our policies and procedures, or put forums or put a forum or something like that in place, especially with the new website. That's one of the key things that is going to be on it as a forum. And this is the kind of area that definitely the kind of use that could be put to, right? And that's the whole point. We're here to share and help each other in terms of what the promoting our culture and heritage is. All right. Anybody else? Well, in this case, then I'm going to thank everybody, and I will formally announce that the meeting is closed, and we can stick around for social, etc. For if people wish, and other than that, I think we're good. Joanne, we're good.
Yep, if all the business, the chair declares all the business has been covered,
We're
then
done.
we could have a mover, but it's not necessary.
That's right.
I think we'll just pass on the movie. We'll just wave to each other and be gone.